A few weeks ago I pressed the power switch of my laptop and it went, nah, not going to do this anymore, and all sorts of question marks and blank screens and colours came up, and I thought, oh no. I was gutted, but after 15 years, that's pretty good innings for a laptop. However, it had all my one-man band stuff on it. All the sounds, all the MIDI routing, all of the effects, all of that. I've just been playing my one-man band though, because I've had to make it out of bits and pieces of hardware. And actually, I've got it working quite well. Sort of. Let's have a look. So with the aid of my other camera, I'm going to show you a little bit about this, a little bit around it. Now I've got my keyboard here, which plays the keyboard sounds, the right hand, through the Nord Elector Rack 2 thing that I've got here. It was on the computer, all those sounds, but actually the Nord Electro is really good. Now I've got on my left knee here, I've got an old wah-wah pedal, which I've actually put a spring in, and that's what's doing the actual wah, the expression on the Nord. It also doubles as a swell volume for the Hammond. So basically that's my left knee. Now my right knee, I've got another pedal here. It's an old keyboard sustain pedal which I've attached a sort of a little frame to, so that when I brush against it with my right knee, it just sustains. And they are connected to this. Now MIDI, I've also got a set of organ pedals here. Now these do my drum sound. And there's various things going on there, various bits and pieces. Now, all of this is connected via this old multi-core cable, which actually used to connect to the computer anyway. So I've actually managed to keep most of it. However, over in the other corner is the sort of nerve centre of basically what I've had to get the sounds out of. Just one more thing, I've got a MIDI merge box here because I have two MIDI controllers. I've got this one, and of course my keyboard. Now my keyboard is split so that on the left hand I've actually sampled my own Fender Precision bass, and I've had to put that onto my hardware sampler. And I've actually sampled each note, apart from the bottom E, which I've actually sampled to a bottom B. So I've got that sort of extra range down there as well. So let's have a look at the other bit. So this is the other end. I've got a sampler down here. I'll just use the other camera so that you can see a bit more close up. I've got an EMU E5000 Ultra. Now this sampler is pretty much outdated. I bought it new in 2002 and it cost me £1,200. And it was loaded up with memory. When I say loaded up with memory, it's 128 megabytes, so it's not very much. But it's enough to have all of my drum sounds that are on my pedals and my bass guitar sampled on each string. And it's just enough. I've used essentially all of the memory. That gives you an idea of how powerful computers are nowadays. But it's a hardware sampler and therefore it has one job to do. So it's not going to suddenly make the tea or tell you that it's 2 degrees warmer outside. It simply does its job. As you can hear, there's a bit of a fan noise going in there because the fan just cooling the hard drive down. Now I've got here a 9-volt power supply. That goes down the multi-core cable back to my one-man band stuff there, and it supplies 9 volts for things like the MIDI merge box, the pedals themselves and all of that, so I don't have to plug lots of power supplies in. Now also in the bottom of here is a Digitech Jamman stereo, which is a loop pedal. So with the aid of mixing everything through my Soundcraft desk here, the UI24, everything goes through the loop pedal that I want it to, apart from the vocals and the lead guitar. Now I've got this other guitar here as well, this thing here, which has got 2 bass strings and 4 guitar strings. Now essentially how I've divided this up is that I've got this preamp up here. So number 1 of this PreSonus preamp, that essentially deals with my guitar input, and then it goes into 2 sides of a graphic equalizer, and as you can see the left channel is bass boosted with no top end, and the right channel is bass cut with a load of mid-range. So that's basically how I divide the bass and the guitar sounds, and that all goes through there as well. So I can either play keyboard, bass and chords, or I can do bass and guitar essentially on one neck. Now I've got on the foot pedal here, on the set of foot pedals, on the left there's a pedal, tiny little pedal, and on the right there's also a pedal, and that basically does start and stop of my loop, so that I can essentially start a loop on the last 8th note of the bar and then finish it on the last 8th note of the 4th bar, for example. And then my right foot can cancel that, and also it's right over the pedal that does the crash cymbal. So I can actually mask the join. If I'm coming back in, the crash cymbal helps me to actually mask the join between those 2 things. So what I'll do is I'll put the video camera now on the drums on the foot pedal so you can see how they work. So here are my foot pedals. I've got bass drum here and hi-hats together, snare drum and hi-hats together, and then offbeat hi-hats with my left foot. So essentially I can keep this as a sort of reciprocating motion. It's not actually very hard to do. You're literally going right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. And everything else that happens on the keyboard, you just essentially play along with what your feet are doing. Now, in order to trigger a loop, I have to hit that pedal, but because most of my main beats are with my right foot here, I can trigger this where I would have been playing a hi-hat. So I can do this. If I just loop 1 bar, and then my stop loop is actually there, and it's right over my crash cymbal. So I've got bass and crash here. Just going through the pedals, I've got kick and ride, snare and ride, kick and hats, hats only, snare and hats, a single tom, just like a mid tom because I haven't got enough pedals to do lots of toms, a cross stick, and then open hi-hat. This is where I change to my left foot, so I can do sort of that disco thing by doing this. That. Got a kick drum here. And do some other rhythms with that. A snare, another snare, so I can do a sort of this. Now I've got a ride cymbal here. I've got to be careful not to trigger the loop when I play that one. And then hats on their own here. So the hats on their own here are louder than this one, so I can do a sort of this. Usually I play with no shoes on it because it's very easy to trigger 2 pedals at once. And essentially that's what it is. I've got one switch here which actually cancels the loop. It gets rid of it. So at the moment, that loop is still stored. So if I press that, essentially I've cleared that loop ready for the next tune. So there it is. There's my sort of one-man band setup. When I'm playing the drums, I have to control the knee levers and all of that sort of stuff. But the stand is close enough where I can actually get my legs to sort of move without actually sort of coming off those foot pedals. And there we are.